Hey, how you doing? Hey, yeah, like my mother used to say, what's the matter for you? My mother is from White Plains, New York, and I've spent my whole Air National Guard career defending New England against that empire state called New York. So, to my mother's chagrin, she's the reason I'm standing here in uniform. My mother was an Army nurse in World War II. My father was an engineer, worked for Douglas Aircraft, and then started his own machine shop up ran a machine shop up in New England. But my mother was the one who was in service. And do you know, when I graduated from college, I graduated from RPI. Anyone here from RPI? Sorry about that. Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute in upstate New York. Anyway, when I graduated from engineering school, my father was so proud of me. He comes up to me and says, well done, and you know, I know you're in ROTC, and I know you're going on this adventure to this thing called Air Force, but when you're done with that, we really look forward to you coming back and working in the engineering, in the machine shop. And so then next my mother comes up and says, you know, well done, son. I know your father's very proud of you. He's very happy. But if for 1 second you think about getting out of uniform, I'll kill you. So my mother, my grandmother, and my great-grandmother served in the military. None of their spouses served in the military. Now that is a testament to what we call our diversity in our force. Well done to all of you. Well done. Thank you. So I heard this conference was about agility, innovation, ready to roll, and how we all work together. And I know you've had some pretty great speakers here. I know you're going to end the day with General Everhart. I thank you, you and General McNabb, for inviting me again. Last year, I tried to come and make this, and due to my friends in another part of our transportation business called American Airlines, decided not to get me here on time last year. But last night, they got me here on time, and I rolled in about 2 a.m. in the morning. So I was very happy to make it here today. And thank you for allowing me to come be a part of this business. It's really, really pretty special. So how about that last speaker talking about innovation? General McDew, well done, huh? Wow, that was really, really impressive. So one of the things that a young man taught me when I met him over in USAFE, this guy called Tom Sharp. He told me, I had an opportunity to work at USAFE for a little while, met him over there, and he said, you know, you really gotta work hard at this business, but you also gotta play hard. And he said the balance that you do with that is part of what makes who you are and makes you a total person. Work hard, play hard, be proud of your story, and be proud of your heritage. And you balance all of that. You balance all of that with your passion to wear the uniform and provide for your family. You work hard at that and take care of yourself. But it's that balance on working hard, playing hard, and this is a part of it. It's so warming to me to see roughly almost 2,000 people here that are part of this development, because one thing General Goldfein has given us is empowered us to be a part of these events. And said, it's a good thing. It's part of who you are. It's part of your story. It's a part of your heritage to be at these events. And as General Everhart and I work together, we're going to figure out how, when, and where we get more of our force here at these events like this, like AFA, and for me, our National Guard Association. And those professional development events are important to us for our story and our heritage. As we talk about agility and where we're going, I'm pretty proud of our force, all of our force, and how we've been able to balance on the two ends of the things that we have to do as the DOMOPS and that warfighting mission. As you can see with this small note from this young girl who said, send my teddy bears to Puerto Rico. Please do that. Please do that for me. And you know, will that save people in their lives? Not necessarily. But what it does is it gives us this 4-letter word that you all are a master of. And that's hope. We export hope around the world. That's the agility that we bring to the table, is the fact that anywhere, anytime, anyhow, any moment, we can export our goods, our services, our capability, our warfighting machine. You are the blood in our veins. You are the glue that holds us together. You are the exporter of hope for the future. And that's where it doesn't matter what Mother Nature throws at us or man-made conflicts throw at us. We got it. We can do it. We can be there anytime, anyhow, anywhere. And what holds us together is that thing in between on that slide that talks about partnerships. And I'm pretty proud of some of the partnerships we have. I've had 25 years in the Air National Guard looking deeply into some of the things like state partnership program. Our partnership down with the National Science Foundation and the things we do in Antarctica. And how we partner across our Department of Defense, across our whole of government, across our nation, from our communities to our states, to our country, to the world. Because as we drive into the future, it's not just all about us. It's about how we come together. And that's one of the greatest strengths of America, is the fact that we do embrace diversity. We do embrace culture. We do embrace race, color, creed, sexual orientation, all of those things, and we drive that forward. And we're the keeper of that hope and that flag as we drive that into the future. And that is what's going to give us a tactical edge. It's our partnerships across the Pacific that will help us drive through this conflict that we have looming on the horizon with something like Korea. Now, innovation is an interesting thing, and I know General McDougall talked a lot about driving innovation in every one of you, and how, where, and when can you push, and despite all the obstacles, despite all of the challenges, push forward and bring in an innovative idea forward. But you know, there's doers, there's followers, there's pushers, and there's pullers, and we all have a role to play. And again, it goes back to work hard, play hard, be proud of your story and who you are. Be proud of your heritage, as that famous guy Tom Sharpey told me. It's really pretty impressive what that means, because your story is different than the one next to you, the person next to you. Yet your story is as important as anyone else in this room, in this nation, in our community. We're pretty proud of some of the things we do in the Air National Guard with a tactics center that we have up at St. Joe and the weapons school that we have up there, and how we partner with active Guard and reserves and bring that innovative idea, those tactics to the table, so that we can do, when our time comes, and throw candy of hope out the back when the time comes and the place is near. And do you know, we had a challenge that said, this Australian team came to us and said, hey, we have all these people we want to get to do tactics, but due to our nation, our constraints, our ability to interact with your tactics center, we can't leave Australia. We can't leave Australia with a volume of people. So you say, okay, do we try to get, and do we try to support, do we try to sponsor, over 250 people to get out of Australia and come to St. Joe? Or do we take one C-130 with a crew from St. Joe and a maintenance team and go to Australia and say, hey, let's export our tactics to them? That's something that hadn't really been done before. And that's a picture there of that crew sitting on the back of that C-130 down there in Australia as we exported our team down there for that business. Ready to roll. Now, I lived most of my time in the U.S. Air Force on the pointy end of our air power, as a fighter pilot. And as I look and became a master at my trade, over time, I realized that the time I was in conflict and the moments of time on when I did my business were very, very small compared to what this thing on there that says airlift equals air power equals our strength is our logistics is our airlift. We are masters at moving things around the world. Is that impressive or what? That carries us 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, every moment of every second of every day. This business of moving things around the world is happening right now. I can't say that about my pointy-end career that I was in, but I can certainly say this about our machine on moving things around the world. And I'm telling you, that deserves a round of applause to all of you. Well done. Well done. One of the things I'm pretty proud of was to be a part of an enterprise called the U.S. Air Force to be able to handle, absorb, and take on 4 massive hurricanes, an earthquake in Mexico, and the fires of the century in the West, particularly in California. For any of you that have seen the news or actually were there and live in California and seen some of the devastation of that, or have a home in Houston, or were anywhere near or a part of anything in Puerto Rico, Virgin Islands, or the Caribbean, it has been an unbelievable year. Unbelievable. And so when you look at the massive influx of what transportation has done, it is what has saved. It's what has given hope. It is what has given us an opportunity to absorb that impact and move forward into the future. The amount of work we have done from the California fires to the hurricanes to the earthquakes is really impressive. It gives me great pride in my story, our story, and I'm very proud of our heritage. So our Air National Guard contributions are but a small part of the piece of this pie. And with over 100,000 airmen in the Air National Guard and a large portion of our mobility forces in the Air National Guard, we're definitely a part of the total force. So my challenge is not, are we the same? Is the Air Guard the same as the active, is the same as the reserve? Are we professional enough in the Air National Guard in comparison to the active duty or reserves? So it's not about that. It's not about if we can do the mission. It's about how we do the mission and when we do the mission. And when and how do we bring the forces forward at the right time in the right place. Some people label that problem, that challenge, as accessibility. And I know General Everhart and I talk a lot about that. What does it mean to assess and be able to get to the force? The Air National Guard is a 30%, 35% full-time, but a 70, 75% part-time force. How do you get access to that part-time force, which is made up of a great experience base, great cost-effective business model, because they're all part-time, they're not full-time. You don't pay the full-time fee. You don't pay the full-time cost. It's a great place for our nation to capitalize on and garnish and harvest force structure and keep that force structure warm and in some cases hot. But my challenge is accessibility, because it takes money. It takes money and appropriations and authorities. And so how I drive into this force with my experience of active duty for almost 10 years and then 25 years now in the Air National Guard, I'm still learning today the unique ways that I can access the force. There's 35 different ways, roughly, on how I can activate an Air Guardsman and pay them. And that's a challenge for me to understand when, where, and how do I get access to that. And how do I leverage that cost effectiveness and make sure that it's a good business model for our nation? Because as you know, the budget is under great pressure. And how do I bring that forward? And one of the ways I do that and bring that forward is through associations. I learn how the active duty mobility forces work, and the active duty mobility forces and the reserve forces learn how the Air National Guard works, so that we can be there at the right time, at the right place, with the right amount of force, and the right contract, the right authorities, so that we're accessible, so that we can add value to the force. And that's what as I said, General Everhart and I work very, very hard to make sure that we understand that balance and understand what mobilization means, what volunteerism means. And we do that through a number of ways, but a big one that I'm a big advocate for is associating our Guard forces and our active forces at the same place, the same base, and the same location, and being able to leverage that so that we understand each other, so that we become accessible, so when the time comes, we're ready, willing, and able to go at a moment's notice. In between there is our modernization and recapitalization. And I'm pretty proud of some of the things we've done, everything from adding RTIC to our force and using some of our precious National Guard and equipment account money to do that. We have quite an individual who this is one of his last conferences in uniform. We have Colonel Stubby Campbell right there. Well done, young man. He runs... Stubby Campbell runs our roughly the last few years. We've been appropriated roughly $300 million from the Congress for our NAGRIA account to be able to buy commercial off the shelf toys and capability and put them on some of our aircraft. We've used it for things like engine upgrades on C-130Hs, and we're working forward towards that. We've used it for, as I already talked about, RTIC and how we brought some of that forward. We're doing things like putting flight data up on visors and seeing if we can fly and use that in our mobility forces. Is that a cheaper, better, faster way to get a display in front of you rather than putting a heads-up display, which is very costly, into an aircraft? And can we leverage that? Can we have every mobility transport platform be a piece of our data link? Can we put a pod on every single aircraft that flies in the air and then have a card in that pod that is adding value to our data link, to bacon, to all of those innovative ideas and bring some of those forward? Can we use that capability to allow us to fly in 2020 when the rules change and the laws change and we have to have ADS-B out on all our aircraft? I think we can. And it's just your imagination on how and when we get there that will take us boldly into the 21st century. So I end with this. My challenge to you is not necessarily about innovation, about agility. My challenge to you is you helping me with a balance of our total force on working hard, playing hard, being proud of your story, and being proud of your heritage. I'm pretty proud of my small story being a part of your story. I'm truly honored to be here and standing in front of you as an airman to say, I'm proud to be an American. I'm proud of who we are. Boy, I'm really honored at how well we export hope across the world. Thank you very much.